But right now, 60% of India's population, even their skeletal system has not grown to full size. Or in other words, we are producing a totally underdeveloped humanity.
No man or woman wants to leave their home and go somewhere else to some strange land and live there just for survival. Nobody wants to do that.
It is your intellect and it's your perception and this doesn't exist, they will laugh at me because it definitely exists.
Because it's the dumbest thing to say.
Right. So I wanted to know this spirituality that you teach, the spirituality that many gurus teach, how is it usable for someone that doesn't have food to eat and it's going to become homeless and there's so many problems, especially in America.
We are trying to fix the stomach-full people right now.
We live in a world of contrasts, at least as I perceive it. There is obviously the rich and the poor, there are the ones who are impoverished and the satiated. We live in a country where 300 million people go to bed hungry every night. How do we deal with these big social issues? And what is the one message that you would like to give to all of us, where we as individuals can make our own little, big, whatever contribution to being part of the solution rather than waiting for somebody else to do something?
Now you're immediately getting into the missionary mode.
We can try a little bit of that.
Yes, it's a serious problem and an unfortunate problem because we are living in a land which has over 12,000 years of agricultural history, probably the only place on the planet like this. As far as I know, except a few other places in South America, nowhere else on the planet was agriculture organized 12,000 years ago. So we have enormous experience of agriculture, which means the science of producing food. And we are living in a land where 12 months of the year you can grow what you want. Many farmers in Tamil Nadu take 6 crops, 4 crops actually, but in between the intercropping, totally 6 products they're taking out of the same piece of land.
Right.
Nowhere else on the planet this is really possible. In spite of this, half the people are hungry simply because of apathy, not because of lack of food, not because that it is not possible to fulfill this. I feel a focused effort in a matter of 5 years, 5 to 8 years, very comfortably we can crest this. It should not even take that much time, but if we are determined, within 5 years' time, it is possible to cross this. And it's important to cross this, because when you say India, I know a lot of poetry has been written about how beautiful it is, our mountains, our rivers, our whatever. But for 1.25 billion people, you neither have enough mountains, nor rivers, nor land, not even a piece of sky, believe me. The only thing that you have is people. If these people are well-nourished, competent, inspired, this can be the greatest miracle. But right now, 60% of India's population, even their skeletal system has not grown to full size. Or in other words, we are producing a totally underdeveloped humanity. If your body does not grow to its full size, neither will your brains. There's medical evidence to show that first 4 years of your life, if you did not get the necessary nourishment, your brain is approximately 60% of what it should be.
Right.
So with half-brained people, the next generation, what nation are you going to build? You're going to be a big disaster. If you don't fix nourishment, we are going to be an enormous disaster. It's waiting, it's a silent bomb. It doesn't make noise. Very quietly, it's going to implode upon us. So this is something that has to be fixed on a war footing, must be.
So what is the role? I know all of us as individuals have a role to play. We are all part of a corporate, an academic institution, part of a community and a society. So what do you believe is the responsibility? I'm not talking about corporate social responsibility. I'm simply talking about corporate responsibility when it comes to being part of fixing some of the problems that you've just spoken about.
We are very much involved with nourishment, education, health of the rural populations. I've been talking to many leading lights. Not much light out there. Whenever I speak to a lot of people, not all of them, many of them, if I tell them, you know, we're planting 114 million trees, you could do something, they'll tell me a very passionate story, how his wife or his mother has a trust where she planted 108 trees around their factory, and how they have grown, how beautiful they are and how they're enjoying it. In all this passion, I just, okay, what's there to say? 108 trees are good, I'm not saying no, but if your capacity was only 108, I'll bow down to you. Your capacity is 108 million, not 108. But you're satisfying yourself with 108. You talk about nourishment, you say, you know what, my maid's children, they were so malnourished, 3 of them, every Sunday we feed them. These kind of stories I've heard of great compassion and love. So, there is a whole culture of doing something for your satisfaction or doing something because you want to buy a ticket to heaven. I want people to come to a place where you being fulfilled should happen within you. If you want to go to heaven, please leave. But if you want to be a solution, there's another way to work.
Right.
I fed 2 children and I feel very happy. It's all right, I appreciate that. I'm glad for those 2 children. But this is not a solution, this is only for satisfaction. So it's time, at least those people who are in a certain level of capability, I would say, when I say capability, all of you are thinking, oh, okay, some big corporate leader. I'm saying all of you are in a certain level of capability who should see how to bring a solution, not do something for your silly satisfaction. You can be satisfied by eating food, by simply sitting quietly, by sleeping well, doing whatever. Satisfaction need not come through somebody else's suffering. You don't have to fulfill your satisfaction because of this, you know. Somebody is suffering, that is not the basis of your suffering, and if you buy a ticket to heaven through that suffering, I don't know, heaven will turn into hell probably for you. I hope it does.
The power of inclusiveness. Now, if we go back in the world, say 30 years, we see that there were many signs of opening. Walls were coming down. Many initiatives were taken to open up the world, which I think brought many benefits. If we look around the world now, there are many signs of closure. Walls are being constructed. There are many policy measures being taken by many governments, closing borders to persons, closing borders to goods. I wonder if I may ask how you see all this.
See, yes, it's true, you're seeing that as a global situation, but we need to understand this. Bringing down walls without bringing down economic disparity is not going to work. When we brought down walls, then itself we should have understood that we must strive to bring down disparity in the world. No man or woman wants to leave their home and go somewhere else to some strange land and live there just for survival. Nobody wants to do that. But it is estimated that in the next decade, there could be about 1.7 to 1.8 billion people moving or migrating. When that many people start migrating, your wall is not going to work anyway. Wall will work when they're in a few thousands, maybe a million, but when they go to a billion, your wall is not going to work, it's going to be a tragedy, because now you see a stream of people coming. Well, can every nation just open up its borders and say, welcome, live on the streets? Not possible, yes? So the thing to do is, which I've been striving to do and I've failed to do, is in the last 25 years, I've been trying to bring some key people in the world together so that this initially we started as 1%.com, and I try to create a board, and every time we are about to do it, some warlike situation comes and some nations back away and it never happened, all right? The idea was just this: 1% of what we invest in our defense forces, as we call them, arms and armaments, what we invest, if we contribute and we institute a board of people who are from responsible businesses to be given as soft loans to these businesses to start enterprises in impoverished societies where it's not profitable to do business. A business will naturally try to do business where it's most profitable. You cannot ask them to go and do business somewhere in one corner of Asia or Africa because they are looking at their profitability. Essentially, this attitude is because money is expensive. The money is expensive. If you give them a softer money, which is not expensive, for a gestation period of 12 to 20 years and very soft kind of cushion for them to develop an enterprise, develop the talent and create industry and business in impoverished societies, the reason for these people to migrate will go. Instead of making that investment, you invest in putting up walls, you will see walls will work to a certain point. I'm not even saying it's wrong, because the sovereignty of a nation is essentially determined by the geographic borders. I'm not saying every nation can open up and let people inside, it's not possible to do that. But you will not be able to control it this way, nor is it very humane to do it that way. So the only way is, in some way we must see how economic disparity is lowered. We cannot level it absolutely, it's very, very far away, leveling it. But if we strive in the next 10 years, if there's enough investments going into various parts of the world from where people are migrating, if you start businesses there, if you start enterprises there, if you start economic activity there, then the need for them to go elsewhere to make a living could be reduced and migrations could be controlled, because nobody wants to leave their homeland if they can make a living there.
The population I work with that are in the verge of homelessness or they're addicts, if I tell them that it is your intellect and it's your perception and this doesn't exist, they will laugh at me because it definitely exists.
Because it's the dumbest thing to say.
Right. So I wanted to know the spirituality that you teach, the spirituality that many gurus teach. How is it usable for someone that doesn't have food to eat and it's going to become homeless, and there's so many problems, especially in America? I mean, of course I teach them resiliency, it's a different fact, but every time I want to open my mouth and use some of your teachings, I have to step back.
Now, the first problem is that you believe in the teachings, because this is the problem with the entire world. They've been cultured in some belief or the other. This is what is significant about what is referred to as Sanatana Dharma or what is referred to as the Indian way of looking at things is, this is not a land of belief systems, this is a land of seekers. Never ever were anybody encouraged to believe anything. If you see anything that comes from that land, you will see it is all about questions, never about a belief system. If you enter an Indian home, in the same house, 5 different people are worshipping 25 different gods and goddesses. They're still not made up their minds, which is… And they have no problem, they'll never fight about it because it's a land of seeking. So, first mistake you make is you believe what I say. I am constantly reminding you, don't believe a goddamn thing that anybody says. But don't be foolish enough to disbelieve it either. All you have to do is experiment with it. Does it work or doesn't work? If it works, you keep it, otherwise rubbish it, what's the problem? Now, about somebody being hungry, somebody being homeless, somebody being in a war zone, all kinds of horrible things are happening on the planet. I am not ignorant of it. Anyway, you said living in a temple. I am not living in a temple. I am more of the world than you are. Every day, I want you to understand, I am running a volunteer organization with over 4,000 full-time volunteers and over 3 million part-time volunteers doing variety of work, huge projects, over a dozen businesses and the spiritual movement, okay? Now, I want you to understand, more things are going wrong with my life on a daily basis than anybody's life. Now, when a man is hungry, if you try to tell him, your intellect is the source of your problem, it's obscene. It's obscene, it's nothing short of that. I never spoke to hungry people and said, your intellect is the source of the problem. I'm talking to people who are bulging in so many ways. In their head and in their body, they're bulging. I'm only talking to that segment of the population. Those who are not fed well, I'm doing social projects with them with nourishment, education, health, all for free. Will I ever go and talk to a starved man in an Indian village and tell him, your intellect is the basis of all your problems? What makes you think that I'm that stupid? Do I look like that? So you also don't do that. This is for you. You need to understand this. There are a million problems on the planet. All these million problems are essentially because those who are reasonably well have never cared to reach out and do what needs to be done in the world. In many ways, they're making sure those people don't get it. Yes. In the year 2012, we have produced enough food for 18.2 billion people. We had only 6.6 billion people in that year. But still, 50% of the population is malnourished and hardly eaten anything. This is not because there is no food, this is because you and me have not cared, isn't it? So, is it true? Is it true nobody stabbed you in the last 25 years? Yes. But is it also true you're suffering various things of tension, stress, anxiety, this, that? Is it a product of your mind or somebody else poking you from outside? It is your reaction to the existential situation outside. Instead of doing what is needed, what you see is when you see something wrong happening, or when you see some suffering or something comes your way, you decide to poke yourself. This is about incapacitating yourself. Instead of seeing when there is a problem, you need empowerment, not incapacitating yourself, isn't it? I'm talking about empowering you so that your damn intelligence functions for you, not against you. The moment your intelligence is working against you, no god in the universe is going to help you and can help you. Yes, if your intelligence is turned against you, you are a finished case. So I'm saying, first let your intelligence work for you. If it works for you, there are many miraculous things that you can do for all those people who have still not eaten properly, for whom basic things have not been taken care of. That's our business, because somehow we've landed in a place where you and me are at least eating well. Once we are in such a privilege, We must use our intelligence to see what is the best thing we can do in the world, not sit here and twist yourself out. I'm saying don't twist yourself out. If you are joyful, naturally you will do the best things you can do. If I meet you when you're very happy, will you be nice to me? No. I don't believe that. When you're very happy, if I meet you, I'm sure you're a wonderful person. But when you're depressed, when you're unhappy, when you're frustrated, if I meet you, you could be a nasty person. This is true with every human being, isn't it? So the first and foremost work that any human being has to do is that you make this into a pleasant piece of life so that you naturally exude this pleasantness in every possible way. If this is feeling unpleasant and you tell this one to be pleasant, is it going to work? We are trying to fix the stomach-full people right now.